Welcome to the Dead Bedroom Podcast. My name is Curry, your host, and I'm going to be talking about 4 ways to seduce your partner. And one of those things is something that you actually do not think is possible, and something that is completely under the radar. But it's something that most men miss, and I would like you not to miss that point because it's one of the things that's going to be a game changer within your relationship. So I think when it comes to seducing your partner, I think we all get lazy. When you're in a relationship, you get very comfortable, and it becomes so much easier to not even try because you think you're entitled to, for lack of a better word, you're entitled to the pussy, which is one of the things that most guys do in their relationship. And you still have to work. You still have to do certain things in order to make yourself attractive and also appear attractive. And I think most guys do not realize how important that is. So I think without further ado, we're just going to go straight into the first point. And really, it's more about planning ahead and knowing what to say ahead of time. So I think this is where one of the biggest questions I get is what do I say in order to seduce this woman? And most people think there's some magical phrase or magical things that you need to be saying, but it's nothing to do with that. It's always has to do with when you say something, you're saying something with intention, and you're saying something that when you're present. I think most people, they say things, and again, a lot of the times when you say things, it's also to do with the way you say it with the emotion. So emotion behind it. If there's resentment within what you're saying, it breeds negative emotions. If you say things within happiness, then again, it creates those sort of feelings. So when it comes to what you say, when you plan ahead, you're planning to say things within a sort of frame of mind, within a certain feeling that you're feeling at the time. So, and that makes what you say even more powerful. So planning what you say is one of the go-to things that I would say to do. But what you say, it has to be said within the context of how you're feeling. And usually so there's almost like a transference whenever you speak to somebody. So if you imagine when you're describing something that made you really happy, if you start imagining those things that are making you feel how that thing made you feel, and you start feeling those emotions again as you're explaining it, it all of a sudden becomes alive, and then that person experiences those same emotions that you're feeling. So it becomes so important to get into like a really good state, a good frame of mind, a good sort of series of feelings before you actually go into that. So planning that ahead becomes pivotal. So if I plan ahead, what I'm talking about is how am I going to set my day, and how am I going to unwind so that when I come to that point where I'm trying to seduce, I'm in the right frame of mind, I'm in the right headspace, I'm in the right feelings, I'm experiencing those things that when I say those things, they're powerful. And I'm going to go straight to the next point. I'm rushing through this because I'm going to try and make this podcast as short as possible. So the second one is being present in the moment. And I think we're all guilty of this. We all always consistently thinking of the things that we need to be doing in the future. So whether it's be bills or work, and then we sometimes allow things that have happened in the past, things that have happened at work, the previous conversations that we've had, the guy who cut you off in traffic, all those things that affect you during the day, we allow them to linger for a long period of time, and doesn't allow you to be present in the moment. So when you're speaking to that person, then you're not there, you're not present. You're saying things, but it's almost like an empty shell. You're not there because you've allowed other factors within the day to affect you. And all of these are factors that really make it very difficult to be seductive because you're not present. And when you're present, you are able to communicate. Again, it comes back to when you're communicating. When you're communicating, people consistently think that it's to do with words and what you say, but communication is being able to get that person to think differently, or at least experience a feeling or understand a situation. So, and what I mean by that is that if I walked in and not speak to my wife, I've communicated that I don't want to speak to my wife. So there is some sort of communication there. So being present then allows you to be able to communicate effectively, because then if you are present, what present means, and I think I should have explained this, present meaning that your mind and your attention and everything that you is there with you, is present. So you're not thinking about what happened earlier, you're not thinking about what's going to happen in the future. You are actually present on that specific moment. So this is a pivotal one and a very important one. So the next one is definitely your body language, and this is the where a lot of people fall apart in body language. When it comes to body language, this is one I can talk about for the next 10 hours, but the main one I would like to tackle right now is that when it comes to seduction and body language, most guys sort of turn it on when it's time to turn it on, which is probably the worst thing that you can do. One of my friends used to say the best time to seduce your wife or your partner is not before you have sex, is when you finish having sex is the best time to start seducing her, because it should be continuous. It should be a continuous process rather than the pre-start of the sexual experience. It should be a thing that you be consistently feeding to. It's almost like a garden that you consistently tending to the garden, removing the weeds and watering the plants, and that's how seduction should be. It's a continuous process of doing it. And your body language plays a huge part in it. So when you walk past and then you spank her by the bum, when you look at her in the eyes, when you pause when you talk, and then you smile, and those are different things that you can communicate, and that sends the right signals in order to start creating that seduction process. So these are, again, just to recap, this is the 4 ways to seduce your partner, and these are things that you can do in combination or individually, but it adds into that sort of example of your garden, that as you use these body language sequences, like for example, eye contact, being able to spank her, or at least pause and pull her into a cuddle or things like that. Those are things that are adding towards you into that seduction process. And I think just to segue for a second here, when you think of seduction in that sense of it being a garden, these actually start making more sense. So I wish I'd mentioned that before I went into the 4 points, but this is what makes it massively vital in order to really get that sexual experience that you would want, where there's a lot more frequency within your relationship. So last but not least, and this is one that's most guys fail on, and it's something that is going to be a lot harder to master, but it's something that you can master over a period of time and a lot of trial and error as well, which is to make sure that your words are seductive and not sleazy. And I always go on the line between that. So my missus will say something which is I need a screwdriver. I would say something like, I have a screwdriver in my pocket. I would say something so sleazy and stupid, but at the same time, when it comes to innuendos, there's a fine line between it being seductive and it being sleazy. And when I say sleazy, it's something that would make you feel, have a repulsive response. And that's what I'm trying to think of. Something that will make you feel like, that's not sexy. But being able to have the words, and usually what I found that what works is not to turn a normal conversation into a sexual conversation, is to allow a normal conversation to flow as a normal conversation. And then when you know that you've been catering to the garden over a period of time, you can sense the temperature. So there's certain things that you can do in order to see if she's in the mood, or potentially in the mood, which is something that I'll go deeper in another podcast. But when you are trying to sense that she's in the mood, there's certain things that you can do. So, for instance, if I put my hand out, is one way I would do it. I would put my hand out as I'm talking to her. And if she reciprocates by putting her hand in my hand, that's one of the first tells. Doesn't mean that she's ready to have sex or she wants to have sex, but she means that she's in tune to you and wanting to be touched. And if I held her from a distance, holding her hips with both of my hands, and then I was talking to her and then I pulled her in, if she resisted a little bit, then I would know that she's not interested in anything or getting into the mood. But if she came in, and that's one indicator. And at that point, anything that you say that could be sleazy becomes massively seductive. So this is how you can tell the difference. It's not exactly the words that you say, it's the sort of environment that you've created to say them, if lack of a better term. So without making this extra long, for more details, go to deadbedroomrevival.com and you'll be able to go and see there where you can actually enter your details. We contact details, so we can actually start sending you more trainings like this and more information like this. You can get this copy of this training as well, with more information on our Facebook group, where you can go and join. Once you join, you'll be able to get more trainings and more of these trainings in depth. So thank you very much, and I'll be seeing you guys soon. Take care.